what the hell am I doing? I'm going to work for some secret CIA guy. I'm going to erase his girlfriend's memory, and then he's going to bump me off.
If you're a stage hypnotist, it's because you want to be an entertainer. It's because you want to be up on stage doing the entertainer thing. You want to be getting attention from people on some level, making things happen, being funny, being entertaining, looking like you're good at what you do. And for most of us, being on stage in the traditional sense is enough for that. Over the years, some people have gotten more into the stage being the internet, right? Having videos of you on social platforms like YouTube or any of the various social media platforms, you know, so that now the stage is sort of a global, whoever watches the video is seeing you doing your thing. There aren't a lot of stage hypnotists who've made it to television. But Tom Silver's made it to television. Tom Silver's really made it to television. I don't think anybody's been on TV the way Tom has. Tom's got dozens of TV appearances, daytime talk shows, CBS specials, all kinds of stuff. He really, really was successful in that particular theater or niche, or I don't know what the right term is, but he did it at a level that I don't think anybody in the profession has ever done before. I think that's worth looking at and talking about, because what he did was he brought hypnotism to audiences that surely many of the people on those television audiences, both live and watching at home on TV, they wouldn't have heard about what hypnotism can do otherwise, and they wouldn't have thought about maybe using hypnotism in their life. So in this episode, we're going to talk with Tom Silver about how he did it, why he did it the way he did it. It's a pretty good conversation. Check it out.
I'm just so excited. I didn't even appreciate, Tom, how dominant you've been on television. Nobody's done what you've done on TV.
No one's cracked it, man. No one's done it all.
So
no one's done. I look back one time, I made a list of all the TV shows. And don't forget, some of those like reality shows or strip shows, which are day talk shows, I was on some of those shows 3 and 4 times.
Like, how did it happen?
Well, number one, the reason they had me on is because I gave them really good TV. And I'm not saying that with arrogance or ego. I gave them what they want. And I was visual, just like that, visual. Maybe it's a certain personality that you're born with or you create. I don't know. All I know is when I started hypnotism and stage stuff, people were training you in the hypnotic voice and all this other robotic, excuse expression, bullshit. You know, they're taking you your personality. Now, if you don't have an outgoing personality, you probably should develop one if you're going to be a stage hypnotist. It's so interesting because when I look back, like I said, I was on 23, 25 TV shows. Man, some hypnotists are lucky if they get one TV gig, or maybe a radio show or something like that. Yeah. But the reason I got these shows, number one, because I was also a hypnotist, a hypnotherapist. But I'm very fortunate because I freaking walked into television. Years ago, before I studied hypnotism, I was a musician. So I was really good at performing in front of people, not looking at anybody as being something special or higher than me, or that one-upmanship stuff that some of these courses and some people talk about. So I was able to connect with audiences as a musician. When I was in the record business as a marketing director, I was able to connect with people, and we were all on equal levels. So even though I was a record executive, I walk into a record store and I wouldn't treat people like they were lower than me. I treated them with as much respect or more respect than I wanted them to give me, because I made them feel special because they were special. They were the group of people that made artists, made people successful, made people famous, sold records in the record stores. They were into music, just like the hypnotists are into hypnosis. Sometimes I get somebody that comes on my Facebook and they say, I remember when you were a marketing guy at Polygram or Chrysalis Records, and you would come in and take me to concerts and make me feel important. And I think that's something that's kind of missing in this day and age, especially in the realm of hypnotism, hypnotherapist, hypnotist. Unfortunately, for many years, it's like everyone competing against each other. And if not competing against each other, creating a defamation of character towards each other, talking bad stuff about each other. And that's happened since I was in this field of hypnosis. And not just the stage hypnotists, but the hypnotism schools and the trainers and all of this other stuff. When I went through hypnosis school and worked my way through as a camera guy, because my brother got me the gig, and I thought, wow, this is it. This is me. This is what I'm supposed to do. But I also thought that I'm just not going to do it like everybody else. I'm going to do it different. I'm going to think different. I'm going to be out of the box. I'm going to take hypnosis, what I call, to the outer limits. I wasn't going to live in the normal reality of the world of hypnosis or hypnotists or stage hypnotists. So right away, after that year, and I went through the program, I realized that, hey, these are some cool techniques, but they're not really the techniques I want to be doing. I want to do things that are visual, that are effective, and that can get me the results I need when I'm doing stage shows or later on TV or whatever. I started doing stage stuff right away out of the hypnotism school. I already got into my uncomfortable zone. And that's the deal, man. We can stay in a comfort zone forever. We can stay rocking in that little cradle of limited belief and limited success. But you got to get out there, man, into the uncharted territories. You got to get out there where the tsunamis are and the tidal waves are and the undercurrent is, where, you know, where you have a high percentage of not being successful. And we can call that failure. I can say high percentage of failure, but you got to get out there into the undoable stuff that hasn't been done yet. And I think most people...
Tom, link that back to the TV stuff, though. I mean, like, you're going on these TV shows and nobody's really done that the way you were doing it. And isn't there this massive sense of like, I need to deliver something great for these people and I can't afford to fail? It's an irony, right?
I like to say, I'm going to get the job done no matter what. Whether you think you can be hypnotized or not, I'm going to get you there, man. I'm going to punch your mind so hard through various techniques or overloads or central nervous system, escapes, that I'm going to get the job done. I kind of went in as of course I was nervous and scared. Who wouldn't be? But I went in like I was in the Secret Service, man. Like I was a Green Beret, a special ops guy. I didn't go in with a mindset that I can't do it. I went in the mindset is it's got to be done. Because if it ain't done, I got a one-shot deal and the career is over. All you got to do is not create the effects that you're claiming you can create, and you're out, man. They're not going to be getting you back on a TV show. And so I had to practice my martial arts of hypnotism. I had to practice my hypno-chi. I had to practice that black belt of punch and drop. You know what I mean? I had to put the energy out, man.
Yeah,
because I had no choice.
I get it. That's cool.
I had no choice. I wanted to be on top of the game, and to be on top of the game, I had to experience pain, because with no pain, I can't be on top of the game. And the pain is the pain of, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Yeah, can I do it or can I not do it? But when I was in the trenches, when I was out on that front line, I said, screw it, man. It's going to be done. Whether you like it or not, it's going to be done. But I'm going to do it in a way that's going to please the stage manager, the producers, the directors.
I think it's important to recognize what Tom's really talking about here and just how special it sort of is. Not sort of, it is. I mean, a lot of people just wouldn't step up in the way that Tom's talking about here. If you really listen, and feel free to go back and re-listen to this section, what Tom's basically saying is, I didn't know what to do or how to do it. I just knew that I was going to have to figure it out, and I was going to do that no matter what. But that's a mindset thing, right? That's a real thing that we can all learn from. And I love it. You'd like to think that you could just sit down and plan it all out perfectly ahead of time and know exactly what to do. But again, think back, we're all having the benefit of being the reflector, these sort of armchair quarterbacks afterward, right? When Tom was doing this, stage hypnotists weren't actively doing all kinds of TV appearances. Like, certainly some had been on TV. Yes, some had been on TV, but not enough so that there was a clear model for everyone else to try to replicate if they got on TV. What Tom's talking about here is this, I think, really common thing of when you're presented with a new opportunity, you wish that you had a perfect blueprint ready to go, but a lot of times you don't. And so you're just going to have to figure it out. And I love that what he talked about here was doing that through the intention of being useful and being of service to the people that are giving you the opportunity, not just going in and saying, how can I do something that makes me look amazing? How can I do something that makes me look great? But understanding that these people are in the entertainment business and knowing that, and that's like knowing your audience, knowing your buyer, and really going in and saying, how do I make sure I do it in a way that's going to please these people and bring them value? Super smart. I think that's important to not take that for granted. If you just heard him say it, you'd go, yeah, of course. No, but to really do that, I think that's a big part of why Tom was brought back again and again for these TV shows, because he really built some kind of a brand recognition that if you bring Tom Silver on your show, you're going to get quality material. You're going to get good TV time. And so today, for those of you who are thinking about now, even if you're appearing on a podcast or you're appearing on a collaboration video for YouTube or any kind of modern alternative to traditional television that has some of the same elements in terms of the media aspect, it'd be a good thing to keep in mind and think about.
The first thing I had, check this out. I get this radio show. That started off my TV career. Some guy who's a salesman selling advertising at K-Rock Radio, Kevin and Bean morning show in LA. Real big popular show, alternative radio, alternative rock. So I hypnotize this guy, I work with him a little bit for therapy, and I help him to discover why he has this food fixation, this food obsession. And it's because he was deprived as a kid. His parents ate steak and lobsters and all this good stuff. And they fed their kids like hot dogs and beans and all this other stuff while they ate high off the hog. And so he always felt deprived. Needless to say, man, he binged and gorged when he got away from his folks and he became semi-obese. So anyway, I worked with him and I removed that false impression of his own reality. And at that point, he says to me, hey, I work at this radio station. I'm going to get you on this morning show, the Kevin and Bean morning show. So I thought, okay, cool. I've never done radio. I've done some stage. I was already doing little living room parties and party hypnotizing little groups of people, 20 people, stuff that the stage hypnotist won't do. Some of those cats won't walk into a room unless there's 50 or 100 motivated people. I walk into a room of resistance, a room of fear and resistance. That's why my first wife had to throw me out of the car to get me in that first show. It was a little birthday party for somebody and no one wanted to be hypnotized. When I do high school grad nights, people run up onto the stage. You're doing a little living room party with all the family and relatives, or maybe your boss because it's a retirement party. That's a different game, man. Yeah. That is a room of resistance.
It's true.
Yeah. So I was going in to do this radio show, and now I make the mistake by putting on the radio show to listen to these guys. I wanted to find out who the hell Kevin and Bean, who are these personalities? Because the personalities love to talk. You're ready to have Tom Kebab or some Tom Chop Suey. And so I get in there and I see these guys, and they already know they're like this little piranhas. They're ready just to antagonize me. I'm the victim. I'm the prey for the morning show that day. So what I did was I offered to hypnotize some of the people working on the show. like the program director. What was his name? Todd. I forgot what they called this guy, because everyone had special little names for themselves. So I did some shock inductions. I did some concentration, distraction, and freaking threw them in, drop them down. You got to over invade their privacy. You got to, lack of better words, you got to scare the hell out of them to drop them down into hypnotism. Overload. So I wound up showing some demonstrations, talking about hypnotherapy, because I needed to legitimize myself. Plus, they're having me come in because they're talking about me helping this sales guy release this weight and stop all this obsessive eating and feeling good about himself. So they went from liabilities to assets, and it was an active radio show. And this is what people don't realize. You have some radio and TV that's passive. All they want to do is do the Jerry Springer, over the wall, ridiculous, wild stuff. Or there's other shows where people are passionate about that show. So if they say something, people react. And it's important for every stage hypnotist to know this. Or if you're thinking about being an entertainment hypnotist, remember, certain shows have an active audience. Certain shows just have the people that are in there for the three-ring circus, and they're not going to buy or respond to anything, but all they want to do is be entertained. They want something to make someone feel ridiculous or laugh at, and I've done it all anyway. So after I was on this show talking about hypnotism, showing some demonstrations, some stage stuff, stage hypnosis on the radio. It was fantastic. I got them cracking up. I got them engaged. I got them involved. I got them liking me as a person. That's the other thing. People got to like you as a person. Because if you go on there and they don't like you, you ain't coming back, man. Yeah. If they think you're some arrogant, obnoxious, whoever, if you don't connect with them, you never connect with them again. But I connected with those guys. Next thing you know, I'm on that show every few months. And they came up with my stage name. They came up with the amazing Tom Silver. So now I became the amazing Tom Silver. And they were the ones saying it. Screw it, I'll take it. If you want to call me the fastest, the craziest, the insane hypnotist, whatever. But they came up with the amazing Tom Silver. They gave me a good radio hook. So I used that radio hook on that radio show for 10 years. But that product on the radio created byproduct. That's a cool track record, man.
That is. That's nice.
But things lead to something else. Every little thing that you don't realize is just a little thing is a big thing that can lead to something else.
Now, again, let's not take for granted the wisdom of what Tom is saying. In this latest section that he just talked through, the two things that come up that I think are really, really important is, one, the idea of resistance, right? Of him understanding that he's going into what he keeps calling a room of resistance. No matter where you work as a stage hypnotist, that's part of what you face. The audience, whoever they are, is always resistant to some extent, which is kind of a weird thing, because you're like, well, then why did they come? Why did they bring me? If they're going, it's a natural human thing. Is I want to see it, but I don't necessarily want to be part of it. I don't really want to actively choose to engage in it. I just kind of want to observe and see what happens. I think that's more of what happens. But if you're going to do your job, you have to convert some of those. You've got to reduce the resistance, raise compliance, and you've got to build rapport, and you've got to get it done so well that you get those people to not resist you, but to actually support you, to want to be with you, to want to connect with you. And so clearly, again, this is Tom's vast experience. He's laying out, this is sort of like a, whenever you're working with people, but especially think about if you do a stage show and you don't cultivate that rapport, you don't reduce the resistance, and it all goes bad, then those people are just going to leave that stage show and be like, well, that wasn't very good. Maybe they're going to tell someone, oh, we went to this, blah, blah, blah. But if you, TV, radio, right, with, especially in this particular case, Tom's talking about, he goes in for a live radio show. If you can't do it then, I mean, you're in real trouble, because then everyone's witnessing it with their ears in real time. Or if you're in a TV studio, the stakes are higher, I think. And your ability to get more opportunities is really going to suffer. So really important for those of you who are stage hypnotists, especially younger stage hypnotists, newer stage hypnotists, think about the importance of that. It is, I think it gets easy to take for granted, is the importance of really establishing rapport with crowds, with audiences, whether they're theater audiences or radio studio audiences are very small. Either way, it's people. Really getting connected with people and figuring out how you create rapport with people and get them to want to help you succeed.
And that radio station led to my first TV show, which was called The Mike and Maddie Show. And that was on ABC television. And that thing was a big fiasco. They wanted me to do past life regression. Of course, no one believed in it. I don't know. Do you believe in people have past lives? What do you think?
I love the idea of it, but until someone can replicate it in a scientific way, no, I'm not gonna, I think it's a gorgeous, beautiful, who wouldn't want to think we get to just keep coming back until we get it right? It's beautiful, but I don't think that that's a real thing.
Yeah, right. And you said a good, something real profound too, Paul. Unless you can actually have tangible proof that this person, that you were connected to this past life, and it's not somebody who's some movie star or some king or, Napoleon.
Yeah. Everybody's always right. No one's ever a ditch digger, Tom. No one's ever like.
Well, yeah. Yeah. How about a few peasants, damn it? Yeah. The fact is, I have never had a celebrity under hypnosis with a past life. I'm looking for Henry VIII. I'm looking for, who is that guy? Nero. And give him a fiddle and have him play it and see what happens, see who burns. I've never had a celebrity. So, but the old stereotype is everyone comes back as some famous dude. Yeah. And I'm not going to tell you if it's real or not, because that's not what we're here for. All I know is they brought me in a day before because they didn't believe I can do it. And remember one thing, if you ever get called by a TV show or a radio show and they can ask you if you can do this, do not say no. Because right then and there, you've screwed up your career. Well, never say no. You can do everything.
I'll tell you, I did that. I can totally relate. I got emailed by a producer for a production company out of England that they had some kind of a partnership with one of the American cable channels. It was like TLC or Discovery or something like that. So they're like, we actually are out of England, but we do a lot of work for these other American channels. And they said, we're going to do a show about past life regression. And we found your channel. We love your energy. Would you be willing to come in and talk about being the host of the show? And I said, no. I said, I'm very flattered. I said, but I don't do past life regression. And I feel like it would be inauthentic of me to be the host of a show that's completely focused on past life regression when I don't do it. I said, so I feel like it would be better for you to get a hypnotist who does it. And so that was it. It was done. And I know, but that was at the time, it just felt like that. I was like, but no one else has called since with any other offers.
You idiot. No. Hey, I'll tell you about one of my screw ups. You want to hear one of my stupid screw ups?
Sure.
Yeah. The things of regret, everyone's got some people got books written about their regrets, and they live in a world of regret. But this is the one I regret. I get a call from Bruce, and Bruce calls me and says, can you hypnotize someone and erase their memory so they never can remember something they did? And what's my motto? If someone calls you to do something, yeah, of course I can do it. And I knew I could do it because I've already done that stuff anyway. Next thing you know, he puts me in call with him and some other guy. Now I'm talking to a guy who's one of the top guys in the CIA.
Come on.
I swear. So I get a call and I'm talking to Colonel so-and-so. And he's talking to me and he's somewhere in Bolivia or South America or somewhere. So now this guy says, so I heard you can hypnotize and erase someone's memory. And I said, yeah, of course. He goes, well, I need to hire you. My girlfriend I've been taking her on some of my secret missions for the CIA, going into all these different countries to take people out. And I need you to erase her memory, because if the family finds out that she knows things, they're going to rub her out. They're going to erase her, exterminate her. You know what I'm saying? So he said, I'm going to get you in a house in Indiana right next to her house. And I want you to make friends with her, become friends with her. And I want you to hypnotize her. Just tell her you're going to do something, whatever it is, remove some stress or whatever. Then I want you to wipe the files away. I want you to delete the files. And he goes, "Now I'll pay you anything you want. If you want $100,000, I'll pay you $100,000. He goes, "Money's no object, but I need you to do this, or they're going to knock her off." So I said, okay, and I get off the phone. Now, a few days later, I'm starting to freak. Now I'm starting to think, what the hell am I doing? I'm going to work for some secret agent CIA guy. I'm going to erase his girlfriend's memory. I'm going to move out there and all that. And then he's going to bump me off. He's going to knock me off.
I'm like,
yeah,
if they're going to bump her off, then once you're involved, why wouldn't they bump you off?
Yeah, he's going to get rid of me, man, because they can take out anybody. Those government things can get, they want you out, boom, wham, bam, zoop, you're gone, man. Erased, disappeared. The old lie in the bucket routine.
Jeez.
So now I'm thinking, what the hell did I get myself into? So I got real scared, and I thought, well, okay, I got to come up with a story. So the story was that I was mistaken. You can't hypnotize anyone against their will. You can't erase anyone's memory. So Bruce gets that three-way call back, and I said, listen, I'm sorry, I thought about it, and I made a big mistake. I can't erase anyone's memories. I can do the hypnotism stuff and some fun stuff, but it just can't be done, man. I'm real sorry. And he even gave me his name, and I saw him in these online, in these history books. This guy was like the top of the game of the family. They called it the family. But that was one scary incident where I could have gotten knocked off. I could have been some fertilizer in some cow's field, So, but that was a bad one.
I love how this portion of the interview turned out. It's such an interesting thing to think about. I'm still thinking about it every time I come back to this portion of the interview and I process it. And it's one of the things I love about this podcast is I don't feel like I'm trying to get to a place where I always agree with my guests on everything we talk about. And this is a great example of that. I still don't know, and that's okay. It's more the idea of being prompted or pushed to think about why we do what we do, right? When I think about what Tom and I were talking about, this idea of, his philosophy was always say yes. That's how you get opportunities. Just say yes. When people say, can you do this? Say yes. When people say, can you do this? Say yes. Like, I get that. But I went the other way, right? When I said this, they called me and asked me to do this show about past life regression. And I said, well, I don't do that. And it didn't feel congruent for me. And I said, no, right? And he ribbed me for it a little bit. But then he tells this story of how in his habit, he said yes right away and got himself into a situation where then he was actually scared for his own safety and this crazy story, right? And that's an interesting thing to think about. Your tendency is to want to know that you did it right. And so I think, so wasn't I right to say to this production company, no, I don't, but I think, how can I know that? Like, if I had said yes, if I had pulled a Tom Silver and I had said yes and learned to manage what I needed to learn to be the host of this show about hypnotic regression, who knows what other opportunities that would have raised for me. But I said no, and I've never gotten a TV opportunity since. It's just never happened. So that's an interesting thing to think about. I still don't know. As I sit here and process it right now, I don't know. On the one hand, I see how that was what felt congruent for me at the time, and so that feels like it was the right decision. But also, I'm trying to be open-minded, and I think, but what if I had said yes and learned something new and had a new experience and done the whole, like what we talked about with Tom earlier, like figure it out? Maybe that would have led to a bunch of other cool experiences for me. It's worth thinking about.
I did a hard copy because I hypnotized Heather Locklear. Did you ever hear about that event?
Come on, you hypnotized Heather Locklear?
Hell yeah, Melrose Place, baby.
Okay, so first of all, if you're not familiar, you're a little bit younger than Tom and me. Hard Copy was a television show. You hear him quickly reference Hard Copy. That was a television show where they did sort of, I guess it technically sort of tabloid journalism, gossipy. It wasn't just tabloid. That may not be the right term, but it was a show that was on like 5 nights a week, and they did a lot of like celebrity sightings and what was going on and Hollywood stuff. It wasn't like hard-hitting journalism. Let's put it that way. And Heather Locklear, again, for those of my generation and older, Tom's generation, easy reference, but those of you who are younger may not get it. Heather Locklear was a gorgeous blonde actress who worked on TV shows in the 80s and 90s, beautiful woman. And so for those of us, it was like, that would have been the chance to, that was pretty cool that he got to, yeah.
So here I'm doing this stage show. I'm doing a stage show, and it was at Westlake Village. It's at a big community center. It was a birthday party for some girl, some pretty wealthy girl, no doubt. Because I go to do the party. Who's in the audience? Heather Locklear, right there in the audience. So I'm hypnotizing all of the people in the audience first to see if I can find some good people. Who goes under? Who drops out? Heather Locklear. But I'm not calling her Heather Locklear. She's just the person at the party. So I make sure I don't personalize these people, because if you personalize them and they might never come up. So I tapped some people that were in hypnosis. And I said, could you come up? Could you come up? I tap Heather. I go, open your eyes, come on up. So next thing you know, Heather's on stage with me. So I hypnotize them, and we're doing some fun shtick. I'm playing clarinet, playing some Eastern tune, and I have them all become belly dancers. And Heather's belly dancing. I'm on my knees. I have this little fez hat on, like I'm from Morocco or something. And I'm playing the clarinet, and Heather's doing the belly dance. And, it was all cool stuff. I have her see her favorite celebrity in the audience. She gets all excited, and it's Goldie Hawn. So apparently her favorite celebrity back then was Goldie Hawn. Maybe laughing was going on back then. Who knows? Or maybe they were friends, who knows? So I do this whole deal. Then I do the body rigidity. What we used to do, I stopped doing that after a while. So I'm doing the body rigidity thing, and I have 2 chairs. So I'm going to put her between the 2 chairs, but I'm not going to stand on her. I'll have people lift her up so you could see her like a piece of steel or a board. Yeah. After she was stiff and rigid, I had her fall backwards, and they lifted up the board and put it between the 2 chairs, her feet on one and her head and the shoulders on the other. It was a very exciting moment of my life. So then they lifted her up, and everyone applauded the power of the mind and put her back down. It was a great show. So then, this is the interesting thing. Now, I videotaped the show. People listening, do not do anything without your camera going, or you might regret it for the rest of your life. Yeah. If you don't videotape your stage shows or your radio shows or whatever, you might as well chalk it up for some future gigs that you could have got through that video, not to mention a promo video, which is very important to have. So anyway, I get a call from Hard Copy. Now, you remember Hard Copy?
Yeah.
Or are you too young for that?
No.
You young whippersnappers. So Hard Copy calls me, and they said, we heard you did a party where you hypnotized Heather Locklear. I said, yeah, I videotaped it. They go, I want that video. Hard Copy wants that video. So I said, okay. So then they set up a time, and I went to Paramount Studios or Paramount Pictures, because that's where Hard Copy was filmed, in Paramount. And so was Melrose Place filmed at Paramount Studios. And so I meet with them, and they say, I want that video. We want to show it. And I said, well, you can show it. I didn't have her sign a document saying she gives me the rights to that video.
Right.
But I said, but you can show it and pay me the thousands of dollars you want to pay me, but you'll have to write an indemnification agreement with me, holding me harmless 100% if and when Heather Locklear wants to sue me. Because I knew there was going to be a lawsuit on this.
Yeah.
So the lawyers of Paramount wrote me this great indemnification contract. See, I got smart. Unless you have a release of something, if you're going to get it on a TV show, they got to indemnify you, hold you harmless of any legal allegations. So I got the document, and now I get a call from Entertainment Tonight. So you know who Entertainment Tonight?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So Hard Copy is showing the Heather Locklear footage and interviewed me. They interviewed me too. So I got it. They're showing the footage. I'm doing an interview with them. That's going to all air. So Entertainment Tonight calls me wanting to buy the hard copy video. And I say, you can't buy the hard copy video. I already sold it to Paramount Pictures. And they said, well, do you have anything else that we could show to compete at the same time and the same date as hard copy? Because both shows were on at the same time.
Okay. Yeah.
So they compete with each other.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, I've got a video of John Cryer. You know who John Cryer is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What was that show that he was on with the two guys?
Yeah. Him and Sheen, right?
Yeah. Him and Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
So he said, I have a video from a live event I did for K-Rock Radio at Bruce Deli in Los Angeles. And I have a video of me hypnotizing a girl to fall in love with him, to fall in love with John Cryer and tell him that she wants to marry him. And he was a pretty shy guy. Then I would tell her every time John speaks, she's got the worst breath in the world. I did a bunch of shtick, but I didn't have a release on that either. But I said, I have that video. They go, we want to buy it. I said, okay, I'll call you back. Now, this is important. This is another tip, you guys. This is a tip that hypnotists can't give you unless they've done TV shows. This is priceless information. And tip number whatever is, don't go against the person who is paying you money and you're developing a relationship with. In other words, don't go against Paramount Pictures because they'll never hire you back because you become a traitor, because you sold out for someone else. Don't pick a better show that you think is better because and you made an agreement with someone else. So I call Hard Copy and I say, hey, I got to tell you, I just got a call from Entertainment Tonight, and they wanted to buy my video that I gave you the rights to. And I said, no, because you have it. And then they wanted to buy another video I have of this girl being hypnotized and trying to pick up on this actor that was on this live show at Cantor's Deli. So they want to buy it from me and they want to compete against you. So I said, I want to keep a good relationship with you guys. So what do you want me to do? See how cool that was? And they said, we don't want you to sell it to them because we'll buy it from you, but we'll bury it. They even gave me more money because I brought them that video and signed the document that it would not be showed or sold to Entertainment Tonight. And so it worked out great. Catch and kill. It's called catch and kill.
Oh, okay.
That's what they call it in the business. Yeah.
This is another interesting thing that makes me really glad that I'm doing these podcast episodes. Within the bubble of stage hypnotism, there are other bubbles, and some of us will never go into those other bubbles. You won't get the opportunity, but you might get the opportunity. You don't know. So how do you prepare for what it's like to really operate in these other spheres of the entertainment world? How do you learn to navigate the waters of dealing with shows, production companies, Hard Copy, Entertainment Tonight, Paramount Pictures, right? This could be a really tough thing. And so I'm glad that we get to learn even just a little bit from Tom here. But that's another facet of this business that a lot of us will get either no exposure to or very little exposure. But if you do get so lucky, how do you get prepared for it? I feel like that could be a whole nother episode. Maybe it will be. Maybe we'll bring Tom back and talk about that more and more, because if you do really well and you get the chance to go into that world, just from this one anecdote that Tom shared, it sounds like there's some sharks in the waters, right? And you got to really be careful so that you don't get into trouble and so that you don't burn bridges, and you know how to really deal with these folks. It's challenging. It sounds like it's really cool too, but challenging.
I get called from Bruce Nash. And he says, I'd like to do a reality TV show. And I said, okay, well, instead of doing a show where everyone's on a stage and it's staged, even if it's real, it still looks staged. I said, let's do a show where I go out in real places and I hypnotize people to do wild, crazy stuff in real places. And he loved the idea. And he said, have you done that? And I said, well, I've done enough stage shows and little living room shows I could put together a video. He set up an appointment with Les Moonves, president of CBS Television. And they came in and we worked out a contract, a 5-year contract. I was going to get $20,000 to do the show. That's not chicken feed. That's pretty good income. Right. Plus, I'm getting international visibility. We set up the meeting, and I'm going to be working with a guy named Ted Harbert. Now, Ted's the ex-president of ABC Television, and Ted is really close friends with Les Moonves. They're like real buddies, you know? So I meet Ted a little earlier before Bruce arrives, and we're downstairs in some room waiting for Bruce to come so we can go up and have this meeting with Les Moonves. A lot of people would be afraid to with some guy like, because he was Mr. Powerful at that point, you know, but he's just a people to me, just people. So that's a great thing about when you learn hypnosis, you realize if you can alter people's minds, you know, people are more scared of you than you are of them. So Ted says to me, he goes, maybe you can try hypnotizing me, Tom. And if you could hypnotize me and we could do something funny in front of Les, it might sell the show. So I said, okay, well, let's give it a try. So I did some shock inductions on him. And I didn't want to beat around the bush. I wanted to go in there and invade him and drop him down. I wanted to play tackle hypnosis. So I did some shock inductions and dropped him down, brought him up, dropped him down, brought him up, dropped him down. I got to turn his conscious into putty, silly putty. He told me before I hypnotized him, I asked him, who's one of your favorite celebrities? He said, Frank Sinatra. So I drop him down and I do a few tests. That's another thing. When you're doing this stuff, don't go in for the kill. Don't start off with memory loss. Do some simple tests on people. And if they don't respond to the simple tests, like even an eye lock test, don't go on to extraordinary illusion, hallucination, or amnesia. So Ted Harbert tells me he loves Frank Sinatra. So I go, on the count of 3, you'll sit up in your chair. You are Frank Sinatra. You live and breathe. You are Frank Sinatra in every way. You talk like Frank Sinatra. You sing like Frank Sinatra. When you look out, you're going to see one of the key people in your fan club, and you're going to sing your favorite song to him. When I count to 3, you are Frank Sinatra in every way. 1, 2, 3. Eyes open. So he opens his eyes. He looks at me. And he looks different. And I'm thinking, well, what's he going to do next? Next, he starts singing this song, Night and Day, a Frank Sinatra tune. Yeah. And he's singing it, and he looks like he's becoming Frank Sinatra. He looks like Frank Sinatra. I mean, not completely, but his words, his mannerisms, his movements, this guy's Frank Sinatra. So he's singing me this song, and he's looking at me with love in his eyes, and I'm the head of his fan club, and he sings me this whole song. And he finishes, I go, thank you, Frank, thank you. I grab his hand, drop him down. And then I try something just out of the blue. I say, on count of 3, you'll open your eyes, sit up in your chair. You're Bill Clinton. And you just got out of that hotel room with that Paula lady, and you want to talk about it because people are thinking that, you know, some sexual thing went on in there, but you want to defend yourself because you're the president of the United States, Bill Clinton. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, Bill. I go, oh, Mr. President, hi, how are you? He goes, I'm fine, thank you. I said, what do you want to talk about? And then I'm watching him, and he's not an actor, but he is in the zone. He's talking about the thing up there with the Paula and touching his thing, and that there's no little thingy on it or whatever. He's like going in his whole big story. And so I go, thank you so much. So great to meet you, Bill. Boom, drop him down. I said, on count of 5, you open your eyes. Everything's gone. Nothing happened. Like I couldn't hypnotize you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, eyes open. He goes, how'd I do? And I said, well, I don't think it worked. I tried, but I couldn't really hypnotize you. But I did give him the suggestion, if I look at your eyes, touch your forehead, shake your hand, say the word sleep, you'll drop instantly and automatically, out like a light. So we go upstairs, and now Les Moonves is in the top penthouse of CBS Studios. His office looks like a goddamn suite in Las Vegas. Yeah. You kidding? There's a bar, there's lounges. I mean, I'm going into a penthouse. This ain't no guy's office. This is top shelf, man. This is 5-star. And so Les Moonves is there, and sitting next to him is all the executives. So Bruce came and met us, and then we went upstairs. And so he introduced me to Les Moonves, and I shake his hand, and I've seen him on news and TV and stuff. And I knew who he was. So I started talking about my idea of a reality hypnosis show where we're hypnotizing people in real places, having them do real things and funny things, and maybe even removing a phobia of giant snakes or whatever in a pet store. Then we put on the video, and everyone's watching it, and they're laughing. It's cool, it's segments of my reality shows. And I said these were done in little living rooms of people I never met before. But under hypnosis, you can stimulate illusion, hallucination, imagination, and people can do all kinds of interesting and hysterical things. So then they watched it, and it was over. And so then I look over at Ted, who's sitting right here. Now, this is an ex-president of ABC Television, and Les is right here. So I look over at Ted, and we like make contact like this, showtime. This is it. So I go, hey, Ted, thanks for bringing me in. He shakes my hand. I go, sleep. I drop him right on me. Now it's like a dead guy on me. And they're all looking over. They're shocked because they all know this guy. This guy's not going to act like a stooge in front of these people. This is a bigwig.
Yeah.
So he's just all out, and he's like on top of me. And I'm talking about how heavy he is. He's hurting my legs and all this stuff. I said, okay, on the count of 3, you're going to sit up in your chair. You're Frank Sinatra. You're singing your favorite song. Now I told him Night and Day because that was the song you sang. You're singing your favorite song Night and Day. And the person that's looking at you right over here is your greatest fan. He's an all-time fan of your fan club. And that was Les Moonves.
Okay.
So I said, okay, on the count of 3, you're Frank Sinatra in every way singing your favorite song. 1, 2, 3, Frank Sinatra. And he sits up and he looks at Moonves and he starts singing this Night and Day song. And he's moving and he's singing and he's totally into it. He's Frank Sinatra. And everyone's looking and they're like shocked. He's not smiling. He's not laughing. He's Frank Sinatra. And everyone they don't know what to make of it. They're like all in shock. Because this is someone they know. And he wouldn't be acting like a stooge. Then when he finishes, everyone's clapping and I drop him back down on me and I turn him into Bill Clinton. And he comes out and he's doing the Bill Clinton thing and he's talking about Paula and she touched his thing and he wasn't his fault and all this stuff. So then I drop him back down. I said, Les, if you want, I can keep him as Bill Clinton. He'll be in your offices the whole day, going up and down the stairs, talking to everyone in every office about this Paula, whatever her name was, incident. I said, if you want that, I can do that. And I can leave him here and we can leave and he'll stay Frank Sinatra until I come back and take him out of it. And he goes, then he's like shocked. And he goes, no, I don't think so. I don't think it's necessary. So then I took him out of hypnosis. I said thanks to everybody. We walked away. 2 hours later, Bruce Nash calls me and says, Tom, you sold the show. Moonves loves it. We got a CBS TV special.
So here's a part of the story that I think is really important to not take for granted. If you have aspirations of getting your stage work to the point where you could get a reality show or a TV deal or something like that, and you get the chance to pitch, I want you to remember this story that Tom tells and think about how smart it is that when Tom knew he had the opportunity to go in and pitch a reality show to people, he didn't just walk in and tell the story or tell the idea. He prepped in advance and made basically like a demo reel, right? And he showed them, he literally helped them see the possibilities by bringing a tape in with him. Back then they were tapes, and popping in that tape and showing them it could look something like this. It's a small thing in the story that would be easy to overlook, but that's so crucial. I have a friend in the business who got a chance to pitch for Netflix, and he went in and he didn't do what Tom did, and he didn't get further than the pitch meeting. Now, that could be for several different reasons, right? It's not all coming down to this. It's interesting to me to think, I'm like, how much would it have helped him if he had come in with basically a concept video to the best of his ability that he could produce, and he had put that in instead of just sitting and talking about it. When you sit and talk with people about it, no matter how clearly you think you're communicating, it doesn't mean that they can see it in their mind and really grasp the value of what you're trying to bring to them. But if you can show them with a video, a demo video, we do it already to get booked for shows, right? Why wouldn't you do it for something like a TV pitch session? Super, super smart. Make sure you don't just gloss over that part of the story.
Clearly, by most standards, you have been a very successful professional and a very successful hypnotist. But out of all the different stuff, what matters to you? How do you really measure how successful you've been?
I measure how successful I've been by how many lives I've touched with hypnosis. How many people were creative that never thought they could be imaginative or creative or spontaneous or outgoing. All those college students at the NCAA games, all the NBA people in the audience, people that might have never had a chance to feel so great and feel like something special and know they can be something special. I feel great about the therapy that I continue to fine-tune scientific hypnosis and work with people even currently to remove traumas and everything else, that I wasn't driven by money. I know that some guys just talk about how much money they're going to make or how much they made. And that's cool. That's their reality. That's their journey. My journey was being someone who never thought that he would be able to ever do any of these things, and having the courage, the creativity, and the art skills to have done it all. And then look back and say, wow, look at all these things I really did. I was a 24/7 guy. I didn't shut off. My office didn't close at 5 o'clock. If I got called from a TV show on Saturday, I needed to answer it. I'll never forget one day I decided not to answer the phones on a Sunday, and I missed the best tire bank show I could have been on. They wanted me there Monday morning, but I was, going through a divorce and feeling like my life was over and all this stuff didn't mean anything, because I did sacrifice a lot of my family time because this was real important to me. So I also think balance, because that's not what I did. I wasn't able to balance my family life with my career. My career meant everything to me. But the byproduct is that a lot of people have learned about hypnosis and their lives have changed, even through the quality of entertainment hypnosis, because that in itself is a therapy. That in itself, if you tune them up before you end the show to believe in themselves and to use this imagination in every area of your lives, you're doing something good to society. Yeah. So my thing wasn't to be a millionaire, because I didn't want to chase money. I wanted to be engaged in the science that I have loved and that so many people sacrifice their lives for, in entertainment, in science, in medicine, and that is hypnotism. I am ultimately proud to call myself a hypnotist.
Well, if you're really a student of stage hypnotism, if you really love the art form and care about the art form, one of the things that you should be checking on is the history of it. You should have some kind of historical perspective about the art form. And now in this world where everything moves so fast and technology brings information to us instantaneously, and where entertainment happens so fast, I think it can be easy to take for granted what these guys, the Tom Silvers and the Terry Stokes of the world, really accomplished. They lived in the core of their careers in a truly different world, a different time, a different world. Things moved differently, things developed differently. Everything was just different. It's important, I think, to not gloss over that. You should start thinking, I think, about what it must have been like to work in that different environment and to face different challenges, and to not have the access that we all have because of technology now. You can go on YouTube now and you can pull up old content of Tom's, and there's probably some points where you'd go, well, that's nothing special. I've seen that before. I've seen that before. I've seen that before. I think the important thing to remember is, yeah, you've seen it before because you've lived lately in this incredible era where things get put on YouTube and you have access to so much more than the Tom Silvers and Terry Stokes and Pat Collins and those earlier stage hypnotists, the Jerry Valleys. They couldn't do any of that. So when they were creating things, they were creating things. If you see it, you know that it was coming from an era where they weren't creating it because they did some research, for lack of a better word, online and grabbed ideas from other people without having to leave their house and then went and replicated those ideas. A separate idea that I think is important is, again, you know, I'm a good example of this. So I tried to pitch to get a reality show around 2012, maybe 2013, somewhere around there. And I didn't do it right. I didn't do it well enough, and I didn't do it. And I was really bummed at the time. If I had been in Tom Silver's era, that just would have been it. It would have been done. Like, you go to the gatekeepers and they say, nope, and you're done, right? But I knew I lived in this really amazing new time where I realized, I thought, well, I don't need to get the approval of the gatekeepers. I'll just do it myself. And so I hired a production company and I self-produced a reality series that I distributed directly to YouTube. And because I wasn't a TV producer and because I didn't understand that world, it didn't go big. By normal standards, it was a failure. I've always looked at it as a success because I took control of my own career, really. I didn't allow others to tell me what I could and couldn't do. And I learned a lot through that creative process. So I always look at it fondly, and I'm glad I did it. But it didn't become a springboard to other things because it didn't get the attention I hoped it would get. But all the more, that makes me really respect Tom for what he was able to accomplish. Again, now we're looping back to the beginning of the episode, really, right? That while he didn't always know what he was going to do exactly, how he was going to do it, he knew that he was going to get it done. He had this mindset where he knew that he was going to provide quality, good TV for these producers and directors and people. And he did it. He made it happen over and over and over again and got all these TV appearances. And he accomplished something that no one else in our industry so far has accomplished. And I think that's pretty cool. And I love how after all of that, he can look back and have the perspective of saying it's not about how much money he made or how famous he was or any of that stuff, that he looked at it all and looks at it all today as a chance to bring something interesting to people, to get hypnosis out more to people, to connect to other people. It was a super cool conversation. I'm really glad I had it. He had a really great career. There's plenty to talk about. We'll make sure that we have him back. If you appreciated what Tom shared with you in this episode and you want to learn more about him, head over to tomsilver.com. He's got an active website there where you can learn more about him and get in touch with him. He's got a hypnosis product store there, and you can check out what he has to offer. Tom does still occasionally do some trainings, so that's another option for you if you wanted to learn directly from Tom. That can still happen right now. He's also on social media, so feel free to hit him up on social media. Tell him that you caught this episode of Inside Stage Hypnosis and that you enjoyed his stories and his personality, and I'm sure that'll brighten his day a bit. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Inside Stage Hypnosis. I hope we'll see you again soon.